people who are watching the recording, I'd love to formally introduce Max Pete. So this event is both inspired and co-hosted by him. He's a community and customer lead at SuperHi, who pivoted into community management and leadership as an experiment of sorts. And he was like, if this is cool, I'll keep doing it. We'll see. And he ended up truly finding a career in an industry he's passionate about. And he learned so much and then shares that learning back in public with all of us. So after his first year as a community leader, he wrote and shared a piece based on what he learned, giving all of us an amazing collection of themes and topics to think through for how we build and manage our own communities and our work and ourselves within them. So that's why we are here today. So hello, Max. Welcome formally. Thank you for
Yeah, thank you for having me in that introduction. That was awesome. And welcome everyone here and who's watching the recording. I'm super excited to chat with everyone about the lessons that I've learned as a community manager so far.
Amazing. Well, the floor is yours, so I welcome you to share your screen and take us away.
Definitely. I'm going to share and then let me know if you can see the presentations. All good? Cool. This is just a really quick presentation of just key things that I will go into in each slide of 10 lessons that I've learned from my first year as a community manager. First lesson being is you don't need to do everything at once. This is something I talked about on our Twitter Spaces on Wednesday, which you can watch the recording after if you didn't listen to it live. But mainly the big thing here is that as a community manager, especially as a person starting the role, there's so many things that need to happen. You're probably running with ideas of like, oh, I want to launch this. I want to build this resource. I want to throw this event. But I really think that while all those ideas are really great, it can lead to burnout quickly, and it will probably it won't be good in the long run. Working in this field, you're going to probably resent the work and the company that you work for. And so I really think it comes down to just finding a few key things that are really going to move the needle in your, like whenever you're starting or a specific quarter or a specific sprint that you're working in, and then kind of moving on that based on priority of like, okay, what action needs to get done? Yes, it would be really great to throw this event, but is this event going to really boost the community in the way that you need it to do, or is it really going to benefit the company and help show them the return on investment of this community? And so I think it just comes down to prioritization and just seeing like, okay, I have 20 things I want to do, but these 2 or 3 things are really, going to move the needle first. So I'm going to focus on those and then continue to get through the list. But another good reminder is that even if you do all 20 things on your list of stuff you want to launch in the community, another 20 is going to refill that spot. So it's a never ending list of things. So it's just a reminder that there's no rush. Like the to-do list of new initiatives, of new events, of new resources are never going to go away. The second thing I learned is, and which we'll be talking about more on, is do things that don't scale. So what I mean by this is there's a lot of cool community initiatives that are more focused on maybe specific groups or members that aren't going to impact the full community, but still going to really make a huge impact on the select few. So one example at SuperHi that we do is on Fridays, which is a community-run initiative, is we have a study hall accountability club. So every Friday from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time, members of the community can co-work together, get things done. They can talk about their coursework. It leaves that 1 hour of members getting to know each other and to co-work together. And usually I would say on a usual basis, anywhere between 3 to 6 people join at a time. So it's not that much. I mean, our community's over 10,000 people. So really small group, but these people consistently show up on a weekly basis. They make really great friendships from the group. And it's just something that is a program that we run and we started that we knew it wasn't going to be this huge thing where hundreds and hundreds of members join, but we wanted to make a really cool impact on the select few that really wanted this to do that. So again, things that might not make the hugest impact across the board, but are still going to really create that value for the people that need it in your community, I would say to focus on that. The third thing is, and we'll be talking about too, is trial and error is key. So one of the things about community building is that what works for another community might not work for yours, and what works for your community might not work for someone else's. The key here is to test ideas, right? So does this event series really work with our community, and to test to see if it does, or does this ritual posting on Mondays for accountability to check in with members who are goal setting for a week, does this work? And it's just all about trying and seeing like, okay, like this is an idea that we had, we tested it, it worked, this is why, or it didn't work and this is why, and this is why we're going to sunset it and maybe revisit in the future. And again, this applies to a series that might have worked in the past, but now we're kind of falling off, and maybe being like, okay, well, we don't need to run this initiative anymore because it might have worked last year, but it's not working anymore. So let's end this now and let's try something new. But the key here is to always try your ideas. That's the beauty of community. You don't know what's going to work until you try it. So just put it out to the community, see what happens. And the worst that can happen is that, okay, well, hey, we experimented with this and we have to move on to something else. The next lesson is that it's okay to not have all the answers. And something I have to remind myself of all the time as a community builder and as a community member to other communities. There's going to be some questions that your community asks of. There's going to be some needs that your community, requests that you just don't have the answer to. And it's okay. Like you don't have to be there to make sure it's pretty impossible to make sure every single member of your community is completely has everything that they need at all times, just because depending on the size of your community, it's just, probably not scalable, and also too, it's just, it shouldn't always be on you as a community builder to know everything. Right. And what I mean by this too, is that, if you're struggling with coming up with ideas, or you're struggling with coming up with maybe a concept or something, that's okay. Like ask others who might have been in a similar position, or maybe ask your teammates who might not be in a community specific role, but might have some insights on this. This is definitely applies a lot when I'm doing operations stuff of community. So if I'm using Zapier to connect Luma to Common Room or other things where the technical ability is just way beyond what I know of, that I can ask my team and help to have them support me, versus me spending hours to figure something out where it might take someone else 30 minutes and I can use a better use of my time. This is one of my favorite ones, where it's just our connections are everything. I mean, honestly, I think just being part of the community clubs like Common Room and Community Club and CMX and other platforms that I'm part of, and just meeting other community builders, definitely led me into finding my love of community building. And it also led me into finding a role in the community. So it's really one of my favorite things to do is to connect with others in this industry, and just build with each other, see how I can help support them. Maybe if I need help with something I'm working on, or just be there for when there's bad days in community where you're just imposter syndrome is hitting or things are happening. You're I just need people to vent and chat with, you have that support. And that happens through connecting with people. This is also a really good one, and something I always have to remind myself of is not every member is going to be active. And that's fine. You might have, our community does have over 10,000 members. I would say on a rough average basis per month, we probably have anywhere between 300 to 500 monthly active users. So a very small fraction of the 10,000 total members that we have. But still, I think instead of really focusing on getting every single person in your community to be active, focus on the ones that are active and see how you can continue to grow and nurture them into wanting to be more active, or speak to their friends about the community, or get them involved in events. And also too, this is one thing that I remind myself of is if every member was active, you would be so stressed out and so burnt out because your community would be nonstop chatter at all times. Like if all 10,000 members of SuperHi were active, I would be burnt out like within a day. It would just be nonstop chaos in the community. And so that's just something too. It's like, you don't need to have every single person active. And sometimes people are active and they go inactive for certain reasons. They might have a new job that they're focusing on. They might have they're just stressed with life, or they're taking a vacation, or they just want to check out for a little bit and come back to it. And that's totally cool too. That happens so much in my community and others that I'm part of. And yeah, it's just a good reminder that there's like seasons of activity. Like summer is generally pretty slow, so you can kind of expect people to become more inactive then, where maybe some fall and winter becomes a little bit more active because people are less going on vacation or inside more. But also too, like it's totally fine if as long as you're providing the value and resources and doing the things that you need to do in your community. I think that's what you should be focusing on, and you'll eventually keep building to a point where members who are active will continue to be active, and hopefully they will just continue to be ambassadors to what you're doing. I kind of spoke on this earlier, but yes, connecting with other community managers is key. Like everyone here, I learned so much. Like I learned so much in joining Community Club and Common Room and other communities of just ideas and initiatives and things I could be doing, or just people I could vent to, or just lessons learned. I think there's a lot of people who have been doing this longer than I have, and even people who haven't been doing it as long as I have. I continue to learn from and build with, and just kind of get ideas and just make friends. One of my favorite parts about this industry is that we're very open to be sharing ideas and initiatives, and no one is really like gatekeeping these secrets, which is awesome because we're all just want to help each other. And so I recommend just connecting with other community managers, like, even if it's people within your city, or if you're a specific industry, it's just a really important thing to do. And then, yes, this also touches on another point, but when in doubt, ask for help. Like my Zapier problem, like things I run into frequently in community building. If I have a hard time with something, I'm asking for help of, can someone support in like what I'm doing. It doesn't mean any it doesn't mean you're less than for asking for help. Instead of trying to, there are points where like, okay, I want to figure this problem out, I want to really try and solve this on my own. That's totally fine. But there are some times where it's like, you know what, I can't figure this out, I'm getting frustrated, I'm spending too much time on this task or this thing, I really just need help with this that's going on. And please ask for it. Like if that's other community managers who you're friends with, if that's people in your company that you're working with that can help support, or if that's community members that can kind of help support. If it's like, okay, I have a community member who's super active that loves to post when they can, maybe I can ask them to help me post like a weekly recap one week, just to take one less thing off of my plate if I'm very like bogged down at something. But the key here is just when you need it, ask. And yes, love this one. Don't skip the one-on-ones. Had this really good reminder this past July because I did like a mid-year survey for our community. And then based on survey responses, I interviewed, I think about 6 people in our community, just one-on-one basis, of just getting to learn more about their answers and just their community experience. But it just reminded me that one-on-one connections with your members are so much more valuable sometimes than just messaging them in Slack. You really get to learn more about their likes, their dislikes, just them as a person. And it's one of my favorite things as a community builder. It just establishes that extra connection that sometimes you can't get through Slack or a forum or email. And, of course, in person, I think is always the best, but if it has to be through video, I think, it works really well for doing, one-on-ones with your members. And so I am making it a pledge for myself to make sure I'm doing this at least twice a year. Maybe like a mid and end of year check-in of survey of members. But yeah, it's just another good reminder. And again, this is something that isn't scalable in your community. You can't do one-on-ones with every single member in your community, but it's still really important to do. Your community members are going to really value your time for talking to them, and you're going to also value theirs because they're taking the time out of their day to just help you with the community building process. And the last one is having fun. This is a fun role. It should be a fun role. You should be having fun doing it. And if you're not, maybe reflect a little bit of why you're not. Is it maybe the lack of support or the company that you're in, or just the community that you're involved with? But this is a really interesting role. This is a really interesting time to be in this role, and I think it's a fun role to be in. I mean, at the end of the day, you're really helping people, and that's like one of my favorite things to do. So yeah, I think with during the hard days, during the weeks that are really busy, and the moments that you're unsure of what to do, remind yourself the funness of this role. Like what got you started in it? Like why do you like doing this role? And what do you want to continue doing? But yes, I think remind yourself that, hey, this is a awesome place to be. It's an awesome role to have, and continue having fun with the things that you're doing.